1998 was the most competitive year between WCW and WWE in the Monday Night Wars. Most years featured one of the promotions having a major lead. WCW held all the power going into 1998, but WWE had started to catch up, making it a race once again following Steve Austin's ascension. Each month had a pay-per-view for WCW trying to pay off storylines of that month. A mixed bag featured some tremendous events still discussed today. Unfortunately, quite a few lackluster pay-per-views explored the flaws that would quickly sink the ship. Talented creatives merged for successes or failures on the big stage. Welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and here are the 5 best and 5 worst WCW pay-per-views from 1998. Welcome to the club. 5th best is Starrcade from that year, as Goldberg's streak ending was a huge deal. Starrcade always served as WCW's biggest pay-per-view of the year and opposed WWE's WrestleMania as the company's top promotion for that year. Goldberg's streak ending at the hands of Kevin Nash with an assist to Scott Hall was the biggest moment of the night and got a strong reaction at the time. Other strong positives featured the opening match of Billy Kidman retaining his Cruiserweight Championship over Juventud Guerrera, Rey Mysterio in an instant classic. The biggest flaw was the semi-main event of Eric Bischoff defeating Ric Flair. Speaking of bad things, at number 5 on the worst side we have Bash at the Beach 1998, which was a big night that turned into a big disappointment. WCW had one of their best buy rates ever for Bash at the Beach 1998, thanks to the main event of Hulk Hogan and basketball bad boy Dennis Rodman versus Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone. The NBA players brought in mainstream attention, but the overall show was a disappointment. Goldberg squashing Curt Hennig in minutes felt like a waste of his first WCW World Heavyweight Championship title defense. Booker T and Bret Hart also almost had the best match of the night until a DQ finish ruined the match. In the number 4 best we have Spring Stampede 1998, which was a strong card with a major title change. The undercard for Spring Stampede 1998 led to major success as one of the better WCW events of the year. Randy Savage defeating for the WCW champion was a lackluster match, but the shocking title change was a huge story of the New World Order Civil War split. Raven vs Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T vs Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho vs Prince Iakuka, and the Ultimo Dragon vs Chavo Guerrero all provided good to great matches on the night. WCW delivered a strong event from start to finish that got fans talking. 4th worst was World War III 1998, as WCW's version of the Royal Rumble never fully worked. The concept of World War III felt like WCW trying to mimic the Royal Rumble with negative changes holding them back. Kevin Nash winning in 1998 was one of the better experiences, but the overall match running so long hurt the show, since a 3-ring battle royal was too confusing to follow. Diamond Dallas Page defeated Bret Hart for the US Championship, and that did have a positive ending to the night. Unfortunately, nothing else on the cards tonight is that important, and it felt like WCW was saving matches for the biggest Starrcade pay-per-view 1 month later. 3rd best show of the year that for WCW was Sold Out, and they started out the year with a bang. Sold Out 1998 originally felt like a disappointing heading into the event since the Starrcade 1997 rematch as Hulk Hogan and Sting was postponed for another month. The WCW Championship had been vacated, which meant a colder main event of Lex Luger beating Randy Savage with little stakes. The biggest selling point of the night was a semi-main event match of Ric Flair and Bret Hart in the latter's first WCW match. A strong undercard that carried the match, with matches such as Raven vs Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho vs Rey Mysterio, and Booker T vs Rick Martel all delivering great results. The 3rd worst was Slamboree 1998, as this showed WCW flaws on pay-per-view. WCW could have had a great night at Slamboree 98, the star power involved, but the booking caused many mistakes. A strange main event featured Scott Hall betraying Kevin Nash to cost the Outsiders the tag titles to Sting and the Giant as the latest chapter in the New World Order's split. Bret Hart and Randy Savage had a high profile match, but the over-the-top WCW booking ensured no clean finish could come. The strong bots of the night featured Diamond Dallas Page vs Raven as they continued their epic feud, and Finlay vs Chris Benoit having an intense match. The 2nd best show of that year was Halloween Havoc, as this pay-per-view summed up WCW's best and worst. Halloween Havoc 1998 is the prototypical WCW pay-per-view that showed off the best and worst things that come from the promotion. Diamond Dallas Page and Goldberg had a classic match that both the WCW Championship and Goldberg's streak on the line with a red-hot crowd. Other positive moments included Chris Jericho vs Raven, and they opened the show perfectly, and Billy Kidman successfully defending the Cruiserweight Championship. Even the terrible moments such as Hulk Hogan vs Warrior, and they had an all-time bad match, or Bret Hart vs Sting failing to deliver a dream match scenario provided some memorable moments. To say really. The second worst show that year was Fall Brawl 1998, as War Games concept got ruined. Fall Brawl 1998 featured WCW making a drastic change to the popular War Games match by having 3 teams instead of 2. Another odd dynamic featured Diamond Dallas Page winning a title shot by scoring the pin to make it feel like a singles match accomplishment, despite it being about tag team warfare. Almost every other match on the card struggled to deliver a strong effort, including Scott Hall and Conan having one of the worst matches of the year. Even the more entertainment moments like Chris Jericho facing a Goldberg impersonator or the Steiner Brothers having a singles match didn't offer much value to the event. And Davey Boy Smith got his debilitating back injury from this show. Just a bad night at the office. And the best show of WCW's year was Super Brawl 1998, and this made up for the disaster that was Starrcade 1997. The end of Hulk Hogan vs Sting at Starrcade 1997 lives on as one of the biggest mistakes ever made in not just WCW's history but wrestling history as a whole. Super Brawl came 2 months later with Sting finally getting his clean victory over Hulk Hogan to capture the vacant WCW Championship and give the fans the payoff they badly wanted. The overall strong event featured a couple of other big moments, like Scott Steiner turning heel on his brother Rick and Juventud Guerrera unmasking after losing a classic to Chris Jericho. Diamond Dallas Page vs Chris Benoit was the best match of the event, and Booker T had 2 great matches on the card to showcase the best of WCW. And now for the worst, which was Road Wild 1998, as Jay Leno's terrible match defined this event. Road Wild became an annual free pay-per-view for bikers at Sturgis due to Eric Bischoff's love of the culture. Unfortunately, wrestlers often hated the show since mostly non-fans attended, and wrestlers of course had to deal with racist actions from the fans in attendance. The main event of Road Wild 1998 saw DDP and Jay Leno defeating Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff in a disaster of a match. A semi-main event of Goldberg winning a battle royal over both the Wolfpack and Hollywood versions of the New World Order. The bad environment of a terrible crowd ruined, and this helped make it the worst pay-per-view of the year. And that's all for this video, so what do you think? What's the worst WCW pay-per-view in your opinion? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you are new around here. That's all for now, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Welcome to the club.